hello. I'd like you to know I'm a very special crow. A neighbor, you see, of Hans Christian Andersen. I lived in a tree right over his head and heard every word of the stories he read to his children when he put them to bed. I used to sit in a tree right near his window and listen to the stories, too. And these stories were so full of magic that the woods became magical and the tree became magical. It forgot about the seasons and budded in wintertime and became green and put out flowers, even while it was snowing. And so I sat in that tree and listened and learned the stories by heart. And now I go all about the world, telling them to anybody who wants to listen. So many stories, so full of things, full of toads, which, as everyone knows, are useful for spells. And there are lots of princesses in these stories who get into all kinds of danger, and ferocious giants, too. And for every princess, of course, there's a prince to save her from the dangers. And my favorite story of all, the wild swans. Here, long ago, lived a king named Filbert, who was called Filbert the Foolish, because he wasn't very wise. Now, Filbert needed a big castle because he had many children, 11 sons and 1 daughter. The princess was a very loving little girl. She took care of her brothers and was a second mother to them because their own mother was dead. And on the day that our story starts, the children were very, very happy and were playing their happiest game, a masquerade game in which they all pretended to be different animals. And the reason they were so happy was because the king, their father, was bringing home a new wife. He didn't know very much about his bride, but she had told him she was beautiful. But all the children knew was that their father was bringing home a new wife, and that they would soon have a new mother who would love them and care for them. And so they were wildly happy, dancing and singing and celebrating the marriage. As soon as the wedding was over, the king and queen sped toward the castle. At the castle, the party went on. Everybody got happier and happier. The children danced and played and had a wonderful time, and couldn't wait until their father, the king, and their new mother would come home to the castle.
The road is open. Quickly, boys. Call the horse. And the rooster. And the little kittens, too.
They're running as fast as they can right now.
The puppy's running.
Wow, wow, wow.
The children wouldn't have been so happy if they had known the truth. Their foolish, foolish father had married a wicked witch.
Here are my sons. Children, come along and say hello. This is your new mother.
How do you do, Queen?
Children, repeat after me. How do you do, Mother?
How do you do, Queen?
This is my eldest son, Christian. This is Claus. And these are twins, Hans and Knut. That was Herman, And these are more twins, Otto and Ferdinand. And these are Justine, Johann, and August.
And so the king kept introducing the queen to the children, growing more and more foolish as he did so, because he felt a little
This
embarrassed.
is my youngest son.
And embarrassment always made him sound even more foolish than he normally was. And foolish Filbert didn't realize that his queen was growing angrier and angrier. Finally, when the boys were all introduced, it was the turn of his daughter, the princess.
You see, she has been a mother to all my children.
All right, I've met quite enough brats for one night. And they'll soon be sorry they met me.
Don't worry. Maybe she's nicer than she looks. She'd have to be, wouldn't she? Oh, dear, that isn't what I meant to say. I mean, well, maybe she'll be all right.
Don't be so sad. Maybe in time she'll come to love us.
And so the long evening came to an end, and everybody went to bed. But the queen was only pretending to be asleep. She waited until it got very dark and very still, and then... The queen was new to the castle, but witches know things that other people don't. For they have eyes like owls and ears like bats, and they can see and hear in the dark. And they know the way to wickedness in every place, even though they've never been there before. And so the queen knew that she had to go downstairs to the dungeon, and there she would find everything her evil plans needed. And so, while everyone was peacefully asleep upstairs, and the king was dreaming his foolish dreams, and the bells were ringing like Sunday, far below, deep in the dark dungeon, the wicked queen was cooking up a powerful spell. A spell so strong and so terrible that even the cat was frightened.
Sleep upon her head and give her toadish charms. Sleep under her face so she will be ugly as a toad. Sleep upon her breast. Give her a dim, dull, toadish soul.
And now the potion was ready. Now the toads had been created to carry out the witch's evil magic. The queen listened. Everything was still. Even the bell had stopped ringing. So she tiptoed into Elise's bedroom.
Sleep upon her head and give her toadish charm. Sleep under her face so she will be ugly as a toad. Sleep upon her breast. Give her a dim, dull, toadish soul.
But as the witch looked on, she was amazed to see her loathsome little servants turn to beautiful roses when they touched the sleeping girl. And now, wild with fury, the witch decided to try the very wickedest enchantment she knew and fastened a permanent mask of mud on her lovely face. A sticky, purple, green, and brown mask that couldn't be washed off. But even as the triumphant queen was looking at herself admiringly in the mirror, all the evil she had done seemed to gather in her face, transforming it to its own true image. A horrible, twisted, hate-filled face of an ogress. And the innocent princess slept on. And now, having cast her spell on Elise, the witch made her way through the hall of the sleeping castle. Her work was only half done. Now she had to get rid of the brothers, the 11 brothers who stood between her and the kingdom. For she knew that once the castle was empty of children, she could easily get rid of the foolish king and rule the land herself. But the boys didn't know what was going on. They were too excited to sleep much and were having a grand pillow fight.
Shh! What's that? Someone's coming.
Now, for the rest of these miserable brats. Powers of darkness, a charm I seek. Hair to feather, nose to beak. Ooble gobble, hooba hey. Heed my words, turn to birds and fly away. Not ravens, ravens are near, but swans fly far. Swans, you hear? Swans you are. Black or white, your birds tonight. White or black, you won't come back. As for you, Shorty, I think I'll have you for supper. Come back here. I'll paddle you till you can't sit down. Rather be a swan, eh? Well, that's not so safe either. I like swan soup. Ow! Wait till I get hold of you. Ow! Wait till I get hold of you. I'll pluck your pin feathers out.
Finally, the long, evil night ended, and morning began. And the queen had a hearty breakfast. She was hungry because wickedness was her work. She had worked hard that night, and the princess didn't know what had happened to her lovely face. As always, she greeted the morning with joy. It was going to be a very full day. First of all, she wanted to make friends with her new stepmother and persuade that lady to be fond of her and to be good to her little brothers. And the sun was shining so warmly, and her heart was so full of love and goodness that she danced with happiness. And so she began the day, a terrible day that was to change her life so, without dreaming that anything was the matter. For her mirror was broken, and she couldn't see what had happened to her face. After she dressed, Elise ran to her brother's room and was amazed to find that the boys had gone. She couldn't understand it. She usually had to wake them up. Why had they arisen so early this morning? What were they doing? Why hadn't they told her? She searched for them in the garden, but they weren't there either. She searched all over the castle for them, from the dungeon to the spire, but she didn't see her brothers anywhere. Then she ran to ask her father. And King Filbert the Foolish and his witch wife were greedily eating. The king did wonder why the queen was smiling so strangely, but he was too much afraid of her to ask.
But where are my brothers?
Brothers? What brothers? Who let this dirty girl in here?
Dirty girl? Papa, I'm your daughter. You're Elise. Don't you recognize me? Papa!
This dirty girl dares call herself Elisa. Get her out of here. Turn the dogs on her.
Yes, the very thing. Throw the child to the dogs.
So the great savage hounds were released and began to chase after Elise.
Oh, no! Wait! This is I, Elise!
Don't you know me? I'm Elise, your friend, Elise. Remember? The bird remembers. Yes, you do know me. Oh, thank you, dear dogs. You are my friends. My only friends now, I think. Goodbye. Goodbye, boy. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
She didn't know how her face had changed and couldn't realize that her father simply hadn't recognized her. And then, in the pool, shining like a mirror, she saw the mask of purple mud that her face had become. No wonder her father hadn't known who she was. What had happened? What had changed her? The little princess was so good herself that she couldn't believe the evil of others and didn't realize that this had been done by the lady who had come to the castle, that she had been enchanted by a witch. Finally, worn out by grief, she lay down on the ground and fell asleep. And as she slept in the forest, she dreamed.
Sister, sister, we are swans. We've been enchanted. We are swans.
Now the wind began to howl, blowing the dream out of her sleep and the sleep out of her head, and she woke up. But even after she was awake, the dream stayed with her, and she knew that her brothers had been turned to swans. Finally, the forest ended, and she came to a house and a pretty garden. But she was not to have even this brief moment of peace. For witches, as you know, can see dreams. And the witch had overheard her dream all the way from the castle and knew that her brothers had told that they were now swans. And the witch did not want her to be searching for her swan brothers and began to cast another spell.
Hello, little girl.
Oh, how do you do, kind lady?
And what's happened to your face?
I really don't know.
Pretty ugly, isn't it?
I'm looking for my brothers.
Brothers?
You didn't happen to see 11 swans, did you?
Well, I don't like to tell you this, but I did. Just yesterday, I saw them, my dear. An eagle ate them all up and then flew away. Oh, no! Yes, I saw the eagle eat them one by one. Didn't leave a feather. Now, don't cry, dear. Just come inside. You can stay with me. You can keep me company and cook and sweep and wash the clothes and tend the geese and feed the pigs. I don't care how ugly you are. I'm not so pretty myself. Come along, dear.
Elise was so saddened by the lie about her brother's death that she stayed in the lonely cottage for years and years until she had grown up, but still wore the magic mask of purple mud.
Oh, what will I do? Dear waves, tell me what to do. I never see anyone, boy or girl, prince or goatherd. My brothers are gone. My father doesn't know me. What shall I do? But you can't tell me, can you, Waves? All you can do is play with the pebbles and make fishes dance and move under the moon. But you can't tell me what I want to know.
But all this time, the swans hadn't forgotten their sister. Each year, they'd come back to the castle looking for her. And although they never found her, they kept searching.
Look, swans! Just look at those swans! They're as white as snow.
Kill them! Kill them! Kill them! For each one you kill, I'll give a hatful of gold.
Don't be afraid, brothers. Look for our sister.
Our sister isn't here either.
Sadly, the Swan brothers flew away from the castle and resumed their tireless search for their sister.
Elise! 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 Elise!
Far below, the girl saw the beautiful white swans, and a wild hope leaped in her heart. could this be her brothers? Her dear brothers? Were these the enchanted swans? Were they alive after all? But no, they're not coming down. They're flying away. And she knew that her hope was a vain one, that these beautiful white swans would not land on her island. She called and called, but they would not come back. They kept flying away.
No, I was foolish. It cannot be. Those were not my brothers, because my brothers would have stopped when they saw me. So I must stay here on this island, which will be lonelier than ever now.
A deer. And wounded. Don't go there. It's dangerous.
And then, so marvelous to behold, Elise saw the stag gain strength, stand tall, and before her eyes, from a poor wounded animal, he became a very king among stags.
If it can do that for him, perhaps it can do something for me, too. Perhaps it can wash away this horrible purple mask of mud. But it's so far down. Maybe it's another trick of the witch. Maybe it's all a mirage. No pool, no stag, only sharp rocks. She wants me to jump and dash myself to pieces. Oh, dear, what shall I do? What shall I do? I'm so afraid. Swans! Oh, Swans! You're here! You're here!
And the princess was in despair. These could not be her brothers. They refused to recognize her. These were just strange white birds who would fly off and leave her lonelier than before. And now she knew that the most important thing in life to her was to wash herself clean of the enchantment or to risk her life trying. And now it was the swans' turn to marvel. As they saw the beautiful figure of a girl emerge from the pool, they recognized her as their sister, but grown up, and so lovely that they couldn't believe their eyes. And so the princess, overjoyed at finding her brothers again, rides off with them into the sky. Whatever their fate, she intends to share it. Whatever their spell, she intends to break it. And as the sun dives into the water and darkness fell, the swans dived too and landed on a tiny speck of land. And the princess was amazed to see them turning into their own dear selves once again, loosing their feathers and wings and becoming her handsome brothers.
Yes, Elise, it's a very strong enchantment. We are swans all day, but the moment night falls, we turn into boys again, no matter where we are. This is very dangerous, because if we happen to be above the ocean when darkness comes, we'll lose our wings and fall right in and drown. This was part of the witch's plan, too. Only you can break the spell. You must weave us a coat of nettles, 11 coats, one for each. And from the time that you begin to weave our coat of nettles until they are finished, you must not speak a single word, or we will all die, slain by your words.
But far away in the castle, the witch was still prowling, still listening with her antenna ears, and she overheard what the boys were saying.
And you must weave us a coat of nettles.
And the witch was determined that this would never happen. And she began to cast another spell.
Frog and toad, liver and gall, thunder roar, rain fall, wind lash, lightning flash.
But the swans flew so swiftly that they outraced the storm. And the witch was furious.
Sisters of storm, hear my command. Wind lash, lightning flash, destroy that princely land. Teeth gnash, fire ash, wind lash, lightning flash.
Now the brothers were in deadly danger. The sky was blackened, not only with storm, but with night. And as you know, when night fell, they would lose their wings and become boys again. And if they lost their wings while flying, they would fall into the ocean. And with their last strength, the swans flew desperately, till finally they saw a speck of land far below, just as the last light was fading. After resting all night, they left the little island in the morning. And finally came to another larger island, the loveliest landscape Elise had ever seen. And she thought she would be very happy here, living with her brothers, cooking for them, and taking care of them, finding the magic nettles, and weaving the jackets that would break the spell and make them boys again. As they flew over the lovely island looking for a place to land, their hearts full of happiness because they had found each other again, they couldn't know that their terrible enemy was still weaving her evil designs. Then back at the castle, the witch was sending forth her evil spirit to fly ahead of the Swan brothers and prepare a cruel trap for them. Now there was no way they could know that the witch's power extended halfway across the world and had evil allies over the ocean.
Just wait till they land on that island. Wait till they meet my friend.
Oh, Father, look! Wild swans! They're coming down!
Yes, I've been expecting these particular swans. They don't know it, but that stupid sister of theirs is going to help me ruin the king and capture the throne. And believe you me, dearie, what I mean, it'll stay captured. And so they came to the island where Elise was to break the evil spell, not realizing that the witch had allies there who were plotting their doom. Finally, they found a place to be their home, a little cave dug in the hillside.
Here you will live. We will fly away during the day and return at night. But you must stay here day and night and weave the jackets, for we are tired of being swans. Here in this cave will I dwell, knit the jackets and break the spell. And until then, not speak a word.
And so the brothers flew away, leaving the princess to find the nettles and begin weaving her counterspell. And that very day, Elise found a field of nettles and began to pick them. Then she realized how difficult the task would be. For nettles are nothing but a cluster of tiny, sharp little thorns that burn like fire when you pick them. These were magic nettles, so they burned even more hotly and tore Elise's delicate hands. Many times she thought she would have to stop, but each time she told herself, if I stop, the spell cannot be broken, and my 11 brothers will be swans forever. So she kept on picking the fiery nettles. All night long she picked. And the moon rose and fell, and the sun came up, and still she was picking, for she needed enough for 11 jackets.
Hurry, Elise, hurry! Great danger! They're coming this way! Hurry, or they will find you! Hurry, hurry!
Well, you warned her. Now hurry or they'll catch us.
Elise didn't understand what her little friends were talking about, so she calmly took her nettle wool and began to knit the jackets. Saw that the hunters were about to catch her children, and forgetting all danger to herself, raced across the hunters' path. Elise heard the sound of the hunt, but didn't know her friends were in danger. Stopped him with a gesture, but she couldn't speak.
Oh, what a beautiful girl. The most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
Look her over, Your Majesty. Not bad looking, eh? She doesn't talk much. A perfect combination.
Speak to me. Oh, speak to me, beautiful maiden. Who are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Answer me.
The young fool's falling into the trap.
Come with me, oh beautiful girl. Come away with me, please.
Show her who's king around here, why don't you, Your Majesty?
Yes, let's go.
Elise couldn't have left us on her own. She must have been carried away. We must find her.
Tomorrow when the sun rises, we'll search for Elise.
Now here's the scoop, Drew. The king has fallen in love with this stupid little swan girl. Just exactly as I planned. And I'm telling everybody that she's a witch. Water's freezing.
Hot water coming up?
Oh, now it's too hot. Numbskull, you're a numbskull.
Watch now. Watch closely. Eyes open, dear. Wide open. It's the only way you learn. Watch her. She's worth watching. She cost enough. Too much.
Yes, our poor Elise was taking lessons. court etiquette. The young king was determined to marry her, and he put her in the hands of his mother and his aunt, being advanced ladies. They used a fully automated lesson plan, a do-it-yourself walking, dancing, curtsying, cake-cutting bridal doll.
I hope she's learned something.
Well, she can't be as dumb as she looks.
Now the Prime Minister went further. He hired a giant assassin who happened to be for rent and instructed him to challenge the king to single combat. The challenge was given, the young king accepted and prepared to fight.
King, king, listen to your dream. Beware the giant knight. And do not, please do not coax your bride to talk.
So the young king was warned by his dream, and when he woke up, he felt full of fiery strength. But now, as the trumpet sounded, the king put aside his troubles and joyously spurred his horse to a gallop.
My dear, you know they say the king has fallen in love.
Yes, so he has, with a witch. I am quite convinced that the girl is a regulation witch. The warriors changed their weary horses, and the heralds blew for another passage at arms. And now the fight was furious. Again and again the young king struck, but his mighty blows seemed to have no effect upon the giant. It was as if the whole enormous man, not only his armor, was made of steel. And finally, the giant seemed to gain strength. The king seemed to weaken. Just then he saw Elise, and the sight of her lovely face filled him with new strength. And after the tournament, Elise returned to the castle to await the king. Then the king did something that touched Elise deeply. He gave her a room of her own, where she might finish knitting the jackets in peace. He didn't know what they were for, but he knew they were important to her, and she felt herself falling in love more deeply than ever. But Elise could not answer him, because she had not finished knitting her magic jackets. And so she was not permitted to speak a single word, for if she spoke, her words would turn to daggers, piercing her brothers' hearts, and they would die. Listen carefully now, warthead. I'm giving you a brand new assignment. You keep your beady little eyes on her every second, understand?
Yes, sir.
You'll catch her doing some good magic, which to the naked eye looks very much like bad magic.
Oh, yes.
We'll let the king see her doing it, and then he'll think she's a witch, and then he'll burn her.
Oh, goody.
Understand?
Yes.
A very ingenious type plan, if I say so myself. Now!
Yes, sir, yes.
Get cracking.
I will, sir, yes.
And Elise kept knitting. She was on her last jacket now. Her task was almost done, but she didn't have enough nettle wool to finish. She had to pick some more. And the nettles burned so. And so she began to tiptoe through the great hallways of the sleeping castle. In the meantime, in the garden, the helper is keeping a bleary eye on things.
But I'm not afraid. I've got something to keep me warm. What are you shivering about? You cold too? Well, stay cold. Oh, it's the witch.
Yes. Could it be? The princess was entering the garden?
Wake up, the witch.
Witch? Wake up, Your Majesty. A witch.
Which witch?
And all this time, the witch was keeping her telescope eyes and her antenna ears sharpened for what was happening on the other side of the world. It was she who had put it into the Prime Minister's mind to convince the king that poor, innocent Elise was a sorceress, and that the good spell she was weaving to save her brothers was a bad spell. And now she decided to take a hand herself and weave an enchantment that would destroy Elise forever. And assuming her most terrible form, she summoned up a squadron of her witch sisters and sent them into the garden where Elise was, so that those watching them might believe that Elise was herself a wicked sorceress. And that indeed is what they saw. And before his amazed eyes, he saw Elise picking nettles in his garden, muttering and talking to herself, and weeping and pulling them up frantically by the roots. He simply could not understand what she was doing.
There she is, Your Majesty, down there. See her in the garden, picking herbs by moonlight. She's a witch, a typical witch. I ought to know. I've roasted hundreds of them. Hundreds, thousands maybe, perhaps more, millions. And she'll be 1,000,001.
Elise, you must speak to me now. Why were you picking those nettles? They say you need them for spells, that you are a witch. They want to burn you. Please, talk to me. Tell me it's not true. I'll believe you. Speak. Speak. Your life depends on it. Then it's true. You are a witch. Farewell.
But although a word would have saved her life, she could not speak.
Elise! Oh, you've decided to speak. Tell me you're not a witch. Please, tell me. Elise! Elise!
She is a witch. Burn her.
She will not burn.
She must burn. The people demand it.
I say no.
Please, Your Majesty. Just this once. Be reasonable. Sentence her to the stake.
No.
Never mind. I hear the hunting horn. They're waiting for you.
And so the young king, confused, tormented by doubts, went hunting. And now the wicked Prime Minister seized the moment when the king had ridden off to pass sentence of execution on the princess.
By order of the king!
The witch who doesn't speak is sentenced to be burned. She is to be given straw to eat and gasoline to drink, so she will burn more hotly.
By order of the king!
Her ashes will be strewn on the nettle field. By order of the king!
All this time, her brothers were searching desperately for Elise. They didn't know she had been taken to the castle, that she was loved by the king and hated by the Prime Minister.
Oh, Elise, can we help you? Hello, Elise, good morning, Elise.
For no matter what her own troubles, the girl always remembered her little friends.
Where's your manners, children?
Thank you. She's here! Don't despair.
The other brothers had searched in vain and had to come to Earth because, as you remember, they lost their wings and became boys again when night fell.
I found her! I found her!
And the boys, wildly excited, rushed off to rescue Elise. They only had a few hours because it was summertime and the nights were short. And when the next morning sun arose, they would be turned into swans again and could not help their sister.
She ought to cook up real good.
Don't worry, Elise. Your brothers will save you. They won't let you burn. I'm sure they won't.
She ought to make a very interesting barbecue.
But it's not altogether sure that there was no one to save her. Her brothers were charging toward the prison. They were determined to rescue her. All they had to do was break down stone walls, defeat a regiment of armed guards, and bear her off through a town full of enemies. But they were very brave boys. And they kept coming toward the dungeon. They had to run more swiftly than they could ever run before, because they knew that when the sun came up, they would be turned into swans again and could do nothing to save Elise from the stake. It was a race against the sun. And now, as dangers pile up on poor Elise and the forces of evil seem to be triumphant, it's time for me to enter the stories and play my part in them. So here I am on the castle wall, watching Elise being taken to the stake. And seeing that lovely girl about to burn as a sorceress, I was so full of fury that I didn't know what to do. But I knew I would do something. I watched them fight, but I knew the guards were too strong for them, and I knew there wasn't much time left. Soon it would be dawn, and they would become swans again. And sure enough, that's what happened. So I flew out to warn the king. Hurry, king, hurry! They're burning Elise. They'll leave nothing but ashes. Even on her way to the stake, brave Elise was knitting the last jacket for her brothers. Too late to rescue her. The king has too far to come, and her brothers are swans. She must burn. But look, here come the swans. What can they do? But what is this? She's finished the last jacket. She's putting them on. She's changing them back into themselves. And they're preparing to risk their newfound lives to defend their sister. The young king heard the sound of battle and spurred his horse on. All the king saw was a dazzle of flames and 11 strange faces. Then he saw Elise.
Elise, you have been working enchantments. You've changed everything.
At last I can tell you. I love you.
And there, in the red light of the flames, he heard the girl's voice for the first time. And she was able to tell him all about the evil enchantment and her vow of silence, and promised she would never keep secrets from him again.
And now we shall have joy, friendship.
And so he took Elise back to the castle. That very night there was an enormous wedding. And we come to the end of our story. It has been very full of things. Like all Mr. Andersen's stories, it comes to life and jumps right off the page. And you can be sure that all the wicked enchantments, all the magic storms, all the great hunts, all the sword shocks and clash of spears, all the danger and all the pain, all the fire of these events will be transformed into shining hours of victory and love. And everyone, as in every good fairy tale, will live happily ever after.
Until the next time.